with Lucasfilm and what's coming up next. And the cover is, let's see, Diego Luna, Ewan McGregor, Rosario Dawson, and Pedro Pascal in their characters' persona. And it's a pretty good cover. I don't have any problem with that. Oh, by the way, I want to tell you guys, I am not feeling well. I am, I've got a little bit of a fever, scratchy throat. So my husband and I are pretty sure I may have COVID. We've got speedy tests. Hey, Dave. So I'll probably take one when he gets home. He gets home around 4. So, there you go. I'm not feeling very good at all. I've got the chills actually. Anyway, so let's talk about this. So, oh God, Deborah, it's just, I don't, if this is, at least I can say I had it and it's gone. Okay. It's going to put a big damper on me getting my hair done tomorrow. This is, it depends on how bad it gets, but it's probably going to be like 2 days. The one going around here is, I've got scratchy throat on this side. This ear was plugged up and the chills. So, it seems like it's a pretty mild case, but, I was going to take the dog for a long walk, go get him dog food, do some other things, and I'm here. So, anyway, want to talk about the Vanity Fair article. So, you got to read the subtext of this. And Deborah, get better because that I could actually just kind of do what I wanted to do and everything. And, and I can't because of this. Okay. There you go. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the Vanity Fair article. So, Vanity Fair, hey Troy, put out an article. It's a look. If you're like me and you used to read Vanity Fair 20 years ago, when Dominic Dunn was, posting all kinds of salacious rumors and stories about Hollywood stars and what was going on there, and they actually did really good in-depth stories. They actually had good reporters there. You'll understand when I kind of criticize it as it's kind of nasty to turn it into a pamphlet. It is not what it used to be. Okay. A propaganda piece for Hollywood now. And it was kind of back then, but the stories were better. They had better reporters. They've got this guy named Nick Bresnikan, I think his name. He's the one that wrote this. And, there's a lot of Kennedy on here. And, all right, first off, if you've been following me and following Cameron Pasha and Midnight's Edge and Doomcock, not the other channels, because if it bleeds, it leads. And if they say Rian Johnson, sequel trilogy, they're going to say it's happening, even if nobody else is. All right? Okay. They make money off that shit. She mentioned Johnson and the fact that he's busy with his stupid Knives Out thing. He doesn't have a trilogy. They basically said there were no movies, feature films in the works, but they talked about feature films that have been talked about. Kevin Feige's isn't likely happening. Taika Waititi's isn't happening. Rogue Squadron isn't going to happen. They did talk about one that James Wan. It's almost like the Goonies meets Jedi. So young Padawans, younglings, which actually might be pretty good. I mean, so I'm kind of got some optimism on that. Talked about Mando 3, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Didn't have any pictures of Hayden Christensen except one. He should have been on the cover, at least as Vader, I think. And they talked about the Acolyte. Now, right, we've got Mando, we got Obi-Wan, Andor, Mando coming, Ahsoka. Then, way in the distance, we got the Acolyte. All right, fine. They posted it up there. There's Leslie Headland. Let's all bow before her. They talk about a lot of things. Okay? And, um, things that aren't going to happen. Okay? They didn't talk about Lando. Dave, they didn't talk about anything else. It's the ones that they know for sure have been talked about, I think, in the public. I mean, the only reason why the Act Like gets talked about is because people hate Leslie Headland. Look, if I was Disney, and I hope somebody from Disney watches this, you might want to reconsider the Acolyte, because Leslie Headland, being Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, is a bad precedent. She's repellent. People don't want her around. Okay, she doesn't make people want to see the show. She's already been humiliated. I mean, that video, I thought I had it uploaded and I don't, of her looking at that black woman condescendingly and telling her, "How can I be an ally to you? You fucking insincere bitch." Really? She's repellent. No one wants it. And I'm if they do it, it's good money after bad. You've got other things that they could be doing. All right. Now, let's talk about Kathleen Kennedy admitting failure. There really wasn't a lot about her talking about the sequel trilogy. In fact, that was the big pink elephant in the room, right? That show, or those show, I mean, that was the big elephant in the room. She pulls out Solo, a Star Wars story, and says basically casting Han Solo is he's a singular character, and basically you can't match the swagger. You can't match Harrison Ford. Really, Kathy? Really? Here's the deal. For her to admit that was a failure, and it was $250 million, Disney going, and I'll tell you something else. The reason why none of these other movies are happening is because of Solo, okay? And that fact that, let's go back and look at the sequel trilogy, all right? TLJ was supposed to attract for $2.5 billion. $1.3 billion later. Rise of Skywalker was supposed to attract almost $3 billion. $1 billion later. Oh, I know, Dave. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, I really think so, Troy. I want Disney to be so humiliated by this that just by her being there, they get rid of it. Or they take everything away from her and give it to John and Dave and say, take this mishmash and do with it what you want. Okay, get it fixed. I don't even think that she even is touching it. The reason why is because it was supposed to be filming now, wasn't it? Yeah, her legendary title. Yeah, it is her legend. And you know what she did? She left Instagram. She left Instagram because people found out she was there and started harassing her. She made it so you couldn't PM her, or like you have the message for public figures. You couldn't send her anything. You couldn't, if she posted something, you couldn't comment. What a fuck, she knows why too. You know, I'm sure she took Harvey Weinstein's sloppy seconds. I'm not kidding either. I am not fucking kidding either. I'm not. That shit happens, okay? The woman is vile. But let's talk about Kennedy. So she says, casting Aaron Yuck was a failure. Really. I wanted a Han Solo movie. All right? Wanted a good one. I wanted one that was semi-based on his origin story in the EU, and instead we get this shit. And she's finally admitting it. Here's the deal. The fact that she can do that in Vanity Fair, which is like Adolf Hitler going to Berliner Illustrierte Zeitung saying we're committing a genocide against a certain population in the Ukraine in 1942. That's the honesty here. Okay, because she's doing that, she's admitting everything that she did, except for Rogue One was a failure. Okay, everything. Even TFA. And TFA could have been salvaged without, if Ryan Johnson had not been the director, if someone who fucking cared about Star Wars had been the director. Okay, she allowed these assholes to fuck it up. She allowed her minions to attack the fans and drive the fan base away. Not only was it bad writing, it was unprofessional behavior, and everything, the buck stops in her office. Okay? The buck stops in that vegan, non-dairy bitch's office. Okay? It's the only reason why I can explain why she's still so skinny and she's almost 70. Unless she smokes like a chimney. You know? Of course, if she's vegan, she's eating food that has way too much natural estrogen in it, and that is a carcinogen, hence why she may or may not have had breast cancer. There you go on that. Anyway, this is big. This is big. They did not say a word about the sequel trilogy. Did not say a word. Okay, now, Breznican Breznican, of course, is a shell. He's not going to say anything honest about the sequel trilogy, but everybody knows it is the giant, oversized, mastodon-like elephant sitting there, okay? It is the obstacle that John and Dave have to work around because of Kennedy. Okay, how hard was it to get somebody who loved Star Wars? They had one, Michael Arndt. They wouldn't let him work on it. The mistake they made was not understanding Star Wars, not caring to understand it. And that falls on Bob Iger too. The other mistake they made was the time limit, was a hard release date. You can't do that. Here's the deal. You've got to put the right cast together. You've got to get the right director. You've got to get the right script. You've got to involve George Lucas at every level. Okay? Oh, I'll get to that, Deborah, because you read my mind. All right? You cannot just go higgledy-piggledy right into Star Wars and think, because, you know, I likened it to this way in the Wayback Machine when I first started my channel back in 2017. It's like the dog takes a big dump out in the backyard and Disney rushes out and stamps Star Wars on it, and they expect people to come over and go, what a great movie. This is the best ever. Right? Star Wars doesn't work that way. People, I mean, when Return of the Jedi was over, people knew it. It is not an insurmountable mountain to climb, but you have to do it the right way. First off, she didn't like Star Wars. She didn't care. Second of all, she wanted to use it for her fucking activist soapbox. Okay? Third of all, she hired no one, and I throw J.J. Abrams into this, that gave a fuck. J.J. Abrams was Bob Iger's guy. Why? Because, you know, J.J. Abrams does everything the suits want, even though the rumor where he walked into the office after they showed the rough cut, what him and George worked on, because he finally had to admit he didn't fucking know what he's fucking doing. And he said, you know, why don't you just call this as written by Disney and Lucasfilm? Okay, because there was no fucking Raylo, and I wouldn't doubt that they were brother and sister because Bresnikan, in the article leading up to it, said, don't be shocked if they're brother and sister, which I'm sorry. I actually could, okay, fine, you finally did something fucking right. Okay, now make the backstory about why all this shit happened. Better get rid of Claudia Gray bloodlines, get rid of all this shit, and we might have a trilogy people could stand. Instead, they made dumpster fire movies that they had to write 50 books no one wants to read to explain them. The big, mastodon-like elephant in the room. But she chooses to throw Alden Ehrenreich under the bus. And it might be gross, but all right, if I'd have been his agent and he said, Steven says I can do this and blah, blah, blah. I just said, look, I want you to go and watch Star Wars. I want you to go and watch The Empire Strikes Back. I want you to go and watch Return of the Jedi. And I want you to ask yourself, can you measure up to that? Because those are size 11 feet. Boots that you got to put your feet in. And you don't have feet that big. Okay? But you go watch them. You come back and tell me you can do it. There was no reason for him to think he should be in that movie. Okay, what is the line? I think it's in one of the Dirty Harry movies where Dirty Harry says, a man's got to know his own limitations. All right? All right, a man's got to know his own limitations. You got a young, what, he was 25 then? Kid, which to me is a teenager. He might as well have been 16. I mean, trust me, the only 25-year-olds I've ever known in my life are guys that are usually NCOs in the Marine Corps. Because they've seen battle. Okay, they're fucking grown-ups, all right? The ones out there, I went to college, I'm like in acting, it's like, go sit your ass down and shut your fucking mouth, okay? I don't want to hear about it. I can't respect him. All right. So you got this kid full of hubris who thinks he can actually fucking do this role because a bunch of people lied to him. All right, let me explain. The other upload I did today about this topic right here, Soilo and Kennedy's mea culpa, Harrison Ford just isn't anybody. Kennedy thought she could just take an actor and put it in there and be fine. Again, when you see the opening scene where he's in the bar and Garrido has got him at gunpoint, is probably one of the best Western gunfight scenes you'll ever see. Okay. All right. That is Han Solo. Okay. You can't, when you see him walking, he doesn't just walk, he swaggers. It's like trying to recast John Wayne and using Al Pacino, okay, or Robert De Niro or Dustin Hoffman. It's like, what the that's exactly what it is. You can't do it. There's a singular swagger. There's an attitude. There's a authentic masculinity that Alden Ehrenreich did not have. Okay, you might as well have not done the movie because of him. But the fact that he had another insurmountable obstacle Two directors that never should have been allowed anywhere near a Star Wars movie, Lord and Miller. Then you've got Ron Howard coming in and basically refilming everything. I mean, I don't care what they said. He literally refilmed the entire movie. 80%. You might as well say the whole thing. All right. There's no way that kid was going to be successful. Even if the script was good, no one would have believed him. All right. The only way you can do it is either deep fake like they did with Luke, or cast someone like Anthony Ingruber, and in post-production, when they're doing special effects, make him look more like Ford. He already looks enough like Harrison. All right. Then you've got it. Okay. Then you've got it. All right. I am appalled that movie ever got greenlit with what was going on. I'm appalled that Bob Iger was so stupid as to trust Kennedy. I mean, if I'd have been the head of Disney and she'd have tried it out, Lord and Miller, I'd have said no. No. You get either Christopher Nolan, you get Ridley Scott, you get Sam Raimi, you get Quentin Tarantino. I don't give a damn, but those two are not. No. Why? I need someone who can direct violence. I need someone who understands how to direct a big tentpole movie. I need someone who understands what they're doing, okay? And the moment she tried it out, Aaron Reich, I just said, you're fired. Everybody's fired. What the fuck? Okay. Well, Steven, I don't care. This would have been the question to Spielberg if I'd have been Kennedy. Number one, are you producing this movie? Number two, would George have auditioned Alden back in 1975? There's only one answer to both those questions. And what is it? No! I mean, go watch the video I made. We got Kelsey Grammer saying he never got called back. Oh, really? You think so? There's appropriateness, okay? It was easier actually back then to cast Luke. Willie Ames was up for it. There are a couple other people that were very similar to the way George imagined Skywalker that he auditioned. Mark got it, okay? But you're looking for a young 18-year-old, somebody who could play an 18-year-old guy, 19-year-old guy, who's very young looking, who could play somewhat William Catt, someone who's somewhat immature, okay? I mean, let's face it, Luke wasn't exactly a grown-up when you first meet him. And that's the point. That's the point, okay? He was very specific, but a lot easier to cast. Because back in those days, 75, 74, we had guys like Dustin Hoffman, Richard Dreyfuss, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, getting these big roles. And the reason why is because movies were going towards the ethnic, the gritty, the big city, smaller, boomer head stories, and there really wasn't a matinee idol gunslinger outside of Clint Eastwood. And there's no way he would have played Han. All right. Kurt Russell was as close as you were going to get without Harrison Ford. And he would have done a fine job, but he wouldn't have left such an indelible mark. Okay. It's like when you watch, all right, here's the deal. When you watch all the Gunsmokes Harrison Ford was ever in, you would think he was in 2. You notice him right away. There's a video out there of him. It's a short video called when Harrison Ford and Jim Morrison. And see Jim Morrison, he's in a crowd of people and he's talking. And you see this guy walking through and he looks at the camera and it's him. And suddenly everybody else fades to black. Okay, this is a movie star who hasn't got to that point yet. Okay. Back then, though, they weren't looking for guys like that. Okay. They thought the world was past that. Okay. You can, what, all right, in the offer, what does Robert Evans refer to his wife as when he's talking about her doing The Getaway with Steve McQueen? Chick's a goddess. There are lots of really big, beautiful, big name, beautiful actresses out there. Steve McQueen was a big star. I mean, he could have played Han Solo, but he wouldn't have. All right. Okay, I'll see you later. I will. Actually, the naproxen I took is actually making me feel a lot better. It's just, this is why it is so important to get the right actors. Like John Carradine, I think it was it. John Huston was right. 90% is the cast. John Ford knew that. Francis Ford Coppola knows that. Okay? The actors are the ones that they're like chapters in your book. Okay? They tell your story. And if they're half-assed, your story's not going to get told well. And that's simply the truth. But I want to remind you guys, it is not that she threw Alden Ehrenreich under the bus. She threw the whole movie under the bus. Without saying that, she threw Ron Howard under the bus because he couldn't save it. She threw John Kasdan under the bus. She threw Larry Kasdan under the bus. Okay? Think about it. But she did not once mention anything about the sequel trilogy. And that was what was really getting thrown under the bus without saying a word. And the reason why we haven't seen any reference to it, any ideas for it, I mean, I get people worried, oh my God, what if there's a reference to it? There might be references to it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen that way. All right? Doesn't mean it's... To me, when I looked at this, I read it and thought, she's done. It's over. And she's admitting it without, coming out and saying it. That's what this was about. Now, who's going to take over Lucasfilm? I don't know. But I've got money on Jon Favreau. I don't know why I do. Okay, and I know other people, say that he won't do it. But, I always say never. All right? Never say never, and it depends on the deal he gets. But this was a big, 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 big deal of her admitting Solo was a mistake. And no, when you look at the picture of them all together, you have to drop down in the article to look at it. She's wearing a white shirt, a pair of black pants with a silver stripe down the side. Now, I took that as a fuck you to the fans. But she could also say Solo sucked. And, to me, it was just a symbolism of something. All right. Very strange. Maybe she didn't even know she did it. People do a lot of things subconsciously. They really, really do. And you got to watch it. Like if you're watching the Amber Heard trial, I honestly think she subconsciously watches the jury. She looks at them all the time. And I don't think it's intentional. I really, really don't. She's very strange on the stand. And she's getting her ass kicked right now. Johnny's lawyer, I've tried to watch almost all that I could. And Johnny's lawyer, Camille, just absolutely has allowed her to tear herself apart. and it's awesome to see. But as far as this Vanity Fair article goes, it is full of subtext that a lot of people aren't going to be able to understand. But in my opinion, the reason why they had Kennedy on there, they're going to let her save face, or try to. And the fact that she admitted Solo was a mistake is a big deal. And it probably is, okay, I'm saving face. And she's basically saying, without saying it, that the sequel trilogy was a mistake. Now, if she came right out and said that, first off, everybody going, Second of all, the reeing across the world by the Raylos and all the rest of the scum of humanity would be epic. It would be funny as shit. I'd be running around going, does she have COVID? What's wrong with her? No, I mean, that would have been too much. It would have been too explicit, and it would have been too honest. And that is not Hollywood. They speak in subtext. They don't speak in actual, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, because I'm going to go because I'm losing my voice again. And, yeah, I feel like shit right now. It's very interesting, and it's worth, look, it's partly bullshit fluff piece. It's propaganda. And Bresnikan's very good at writing garbage. Okay. And he's the one that when they were making The Rise of Shitwalker, that he said, don't be surprised if Ray and Kyle Ren end up brother and sister. Because I think that's what he was told. And they should have been, because then I could have handled it better. But it's almost like it's her goodbye piece. I mean, like Deborah said, and I didn't get to it, but it's almost like it's her, it's leading up to her saying goodbye, in my opinion. I don't know. Anyway, I gotta go. Oh, and by the way, the fact that she said she was the one that got John and Dave together for a play date. No, she didn't. You know who did that? Bob Iger. He went around her back and said, I need some. Favreau said, I can fix it. Iger said, go for it. They went around her back. She had nothing to do with that. Again, saving face. Steph, signing out. Sorry I can't hang, but I'm like, right now. I'll see you guys around the galaxy.